Rich bullies threaten the new black girl, not knowing she's a black belt in karate. You picked the wrong girl. Rebecca dos Santos, a 17-year-old black girl, daughter of a seamstress and a late security guard, wins a full scholarship to one of the most elite private schools in the country, a place where the children of the rich rule like they own the world from the first day. She stands out. Smart, disciplined, quiet, and that's exactly why she becomes a target. A group of wealthy bullies used to mocking scholarship kids sees her as easy prey, poor, black, and out of place. But what they don't know is that Rebecca is a black belt in karate trained, since she was 6, by an old Japanese master who took her in after her father's death. She learned real strength isn't about fighting, it's about knowing when you don't have to. When the bullying turns physical, shoves, threats, cruel. Videos Rebecca decides it's time to stop hiding. One cold morning in the school courtyard, one of the bullies corners her. What happens next shocks everyone. A flawless self-defense move. Elegant and powerful, and it's caught on camera. The video goes viral, but it's not the move that breaks the internet. It's her words before walking away. You have everything, except honor. The school tries to cover it up. Bully's parents demand her expulsion. But the world has already picked a side. Now Rebecca becomes a symbol of pride and resilience. And she prepares for her greatest fight yet, to stay where she belongs. Even if the elite want her out. Asterisk, asterisk, the honor where least. Expected Chapter 1. The glass wall and the unexpected target, the streets of Rebecca dos Santos's neighborhood. 17. Were a tangle of simple life and giant dreams. Daughter of a seamstress with calloused hands and a security guard who died in service, Rebecca knew the value of sweat and the importance of every penny. Her modest but affectionate home was her refuge, her springboard to a future she knew she had to build with her own hands. Her sharp, curious mind always sought knowledge, and her agile, disciplined body was a reflection of a life of effort and resilience. Rebecca's world turned upside down when she earned. It's a full scholarship to elite college, one of the most expensive schools in the city. There, the children of the elite lived as if the world revolved around them, in a bubble of privilege and ostentation. The wide hallways, air-conditioned rooms, the smell of expensive perfume, and the indifference in the rich student's eyes sharply contrasted with the simplicity of her life. Rebecca, a black girl from a humble background, and with the dignity that a well-lived poverty teaches, was an intruder in that universe. She felt the curious glances, the whispers, the weight of social invisibility, even in such a visible place. In the first few days, Rebecca drew attention. Not because of her scholarship or her background, but because of her sharp intelligence, exemplary discipline, and a silence that made her enigmatic. She wasn't intimidated. She simply observed, absorbing every detail of this new world. But her presence also awakened something darker: envy. A group of millionaire teenagers, accustomed to humiliating scholarship students, saw in her an easy target, poor, black, alone, and, in their arrogant eyes, out of place. They didn't know that. Rebecca carried more than pain, discipline, and humility. She carried a secret that would one day shatter their facade of power. Chapter 2. The shadow of envy and the black belt's secret. The attack started subtly, with scornful glances and hushed comments in the hallways. The group, led by Felipe, white boy with cold eyes and a smug smile, heir to an influential family, was the main tormentor. For Felipe and his entourage, humiliating scholarship students was a sport, a way to reaffirm their own superiority and the status of their elite. Rebecca, with her unwavering calm, ignored them, focusing on her studies and her goal of honoring her mother's sacrifice. But with every ignored slight, the group's envy grew, transforming into something more cruel. What they didn't know was that Rebecca carried a secret that went far beyond her intelligence and discipline. She was a black belt in karate, trained since she was 6 by an old Japanese master, Sensei Kenji, who took her in after her father's death. Sensei Kenji had taught Rebecca that true strength isn't about hitting, but knowing when not to. That the greatest victory is the one over oneself, and that honor is more valuable than any gold. Rebecca applied these teachings in her life, using her discipline to contain her anger and her humility to avoid retaliating against provocations. But Felipe and his group's attacks began to turn physical. Shoves in the hallways, books knocked down, backpacks kicked. Humiliating videos of Rebecca being ridiculed were posted on social media, accompanied by cruel comments that painted her as an outcast. The shame was no longer hers, but the school's, which tried to suppress the incidents to protect its wealthy students' reputations. The last straw was when the threats extended to her mother. Rebecca's silence had been a shield, but now it was time to stop hiding. Her family's honor and her sensei's legacy were at stake. Chapter 3. The Frozen Courtyard and the shout of honor. The cold morning arrived, with biting winds sweeping across the school courtyard. The tension was palpable. Rumors of a new confrontation between Rebecca and Philippe's group spread like wildfire. Students gathered, their cell phones raised to film what they expected to be another humiliation of the scholarship student. Rebecca, in her simple clothes, but with a posture that exuded calm, stood in the center of the courtyard, her eyes fixed on the horizon, her mind clear as crystal. Felipe, accompanied by his retinue of bullies, approached, a smug smile on his face. "Thought you'd get away, scholarship girl?" he scoffed, trying to corner her. He reached out to push her, expecting the usual reaction, a bowed head, silence. But Rebecca didn't back down. Her eyes met Felipe's, and there he saw something that made him hesitate for an instant. Not fear, but unwavering determination. What happened next made headlines. With a swift, precise, and humiliating defense, Rebecca moved. There were no brutal blows, no gratuitous violence, only precise karate movements that used Felipe's own force against him. Stumbled, fell, and the rest of the group was disarmed and neutralized in seconds, without Rebecca even touching them aggressively. A display of technique and control that silenced the courtyard. Dozens of students filmed the scene, shocked, their phones capturing not violence, but Rebecca's mastery. The video went viral before the bell even rang. But what truly grabbed attention wasn't the fight. It was the message she left before walking away, phasing Felipe and his crew with a voice that echoed throughout the courtyard. "You have everything but no honor." The phrase, simple yet brutally true, shook the school, the city, and the entire country, revealing the strength of a girl who had learned that the greatest victory is over one's own soul. Rebecca Dos Santos has shocked everyone with her intelligence and courage. She taught the arrogant elite a lesson. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this inspiring saga of justice, empowerment, and the fight against prejudice. Hit like if you're also impressed by Rebecca's strength and believe that honor is worth more than money. Share this video so more people can be inspired by this powerful story and reflect on the true meaning of being out of place. Comment below. What do you think will happen to Rebecca at school? Will she manage to stay where she deserves to be? Chapter 4. The School in Turmoil and the War Behind the Scenes. The video of Rebecca disarming Felipe and his group in elite college's courtyard went viral globally in a matter of hours. The phrase "you have everything, but no honor" echoed on millions of screens, transforming the teenager into an unexpected symbol of justice and empowerment. The internet, once a stage for the elite's arrogance, was now a tribunal condemning it. Elite college, accustomed to suppressing scandals to protect its image, found itself in the eye of the hurricane. Parents of scholarship students, once silenced by fear, began to speak out, telling stories of bullying and systematic prejudice. The school tried to hush up the case. The board, concerned about its reputation and the millionaire donations from the aggressors' families, summoned Rebecca to a meeting, suggesting she minimize the incident or accept a silence agreement. Rebecca, however, refused. Dignity. She stated that the truth needed to be told. The aggressors' families, for their part, desperately tried to expel her from the school, using their influence and expensive lawyers to paint Rebecca as an aggressor, a threat to the school. environment. As the war unfolded behind the scenes, the entire country had already chosen a side. Rebecca's story, the black girl who confronted the arrogant elite and won with dignity, inspired millions. Black girls across Brazil saw themselves in her, a hero who dared to fight back with intelligence and honor. The press, torn between the elite's interests and public outcry, covered every detail. An elite college found itself in the midst of an unprecedented crisis. Rebecca was about to face her biggest battle, to remain where she deserved to be, even when the powerful said she didn't belong. Chapter 5. The consequences and the faces of resilience, despite the pressure. Rebecca did not back down. Her unwavering stance before the board and the aggressor's lawyers only enhanced her stature as a symbol. The fight to remain at elite college became a public clash between meritocracy and elitism, between dignity and arrogance. Ricardo Lacerda, the CEO who once recognized the talent of a cleaning lady connecting to the unexpected genius script, observed from a distance, seeing in Rebecca the same courage he had found in Clara. He, now a champion of inclusion, felt a call to action. Rebecca's story began to change not only public perception, but also the lives of others. Sensei Kenji, the old Japanese master who trained her, publicly defended his student, revealing the karate code of honor and Rebecca's discipline. His testimony, coming from such a respected figure, further strengthened Rebecca's cause. Mother, Donna Lucia, who once feared for her daughter, now saw in her a strength that transcended any fear. She became a pillar of support, receiving messages of solidarity from mothers across the country in a symbolic act of support. The I Am Rebecca movement gained momentum on social media, with young people across Brazil posting videos of themselves, with the hashtag sharing their own experiences of prejudice and resilience. The Alzira Monteiro Foundation Paths to Dignity, connecting to the Seat of Dignity script, dedicated to social inclusion and the education of young black and impoverished people, offered legal and psychological support to Rebecca, recognizing her as the embodiment of its own mission. Rebecca's fight was no longer solitary. It was the voice of millions, and every day she felt the weight and honor of carrying that responsibility. Chapter 6. The Tribunal of Honor and the inspiring victory. Rebecca's case went to court, transforming into a legal and social landmark. It wasn't just a bullying lawsuit. It was a judgment on veiled racism in elite institutions and a young black girl's right to occupy a space she had earned through merit. In the dock, the aggressors and their families, accustomed to using money to silence problems, faced the fury of public opinion and Rebecca's unwavering determination. Rebecca, in her testimony, spoke with a clarity and serenity that disarmed everyone. She didn't seek revenge. She sought justice. She spoke of the pain of prejudice, the humiliation, but also of the strength she found in her family, in her sensei, and in her faith. She described the karate code of honor, not as a weapon, but as a philosophy of life, and explained that her victory in the courtyard wasn't about fighting, but about defending herself with dignity. Her voice, firm and emotional, touched the hearts of millions following the trial. The verdict was a watershed moment. The aggressors were convicted not only of bullying, but of racial discrimination, with the school being forced to implement strict inclusion policies and create a scholarship fund for young black students. Rebecca was not expelled. She remained at elite college, not as a scholarship student, but as a symbol that talent and honor can overcome prejudice. News of Rebecca's victory went viral again, but this time it wasn't about a scandal, but about the triumph of justice and the strength of a girl who changed the country. Rebecca dos Santos went to court, and her victory will inspire Brazil. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this inspiring saga of justice, its empowerment, and a legacy that transforms lives. Hit like if you also believe that prejudice can be overcome and that honor always triumphs. Share this video so more people can be inspired by Rebecca's journey and her fight for a more just and equal world. Comment below. What do you think of Rebecca's victory in court? What lesson do you take away from her story about honor and prejudice? Chapter 7. The Victorious Symbol and the Unexpected Inheritance. Rebecca's courtroom victory was more than a legal triumph. It was an explosion in the national consciousness. Video of the verdict with the aggressors, condemnation, and the demand for inclusion policies in the school went viral, more powerful than any previous video. The phrase, "You have everything but no honor," became a motto, a battle cry for marginalized youth and communities. Rebecca's story, that of the black girl who confronted the arrogant elite and won with dignity, became a subject in newspapers, TV shows, and conversations across Brazil. She was no longer just a scholarship student. She was a symbol that justice, at times, chooses the most unlikely individuals to manifest its strength. The repercussions, however, brought the weight of fame. Rebecca was called for interviews, university lectures, and community events. Her voice, once silenced, now echoed, inspiring millions of black girls not to give up on their dreams, to fight for their rights, and to value their own identity. She became the personification of resilience, living proof that education and honor are more powerful weapons than any material wealth. The school, once a bastion of elitism, was forced to reinvent itself, actively seeking talent in underserved communities and implementing anti-racism programs. Amidst this new reality, an unexpected event surprised Rebecca. A letter. Not from the school, not from fans, but from Felipe's, the main aggressor's, lawyer. It wasn't a threat, it was a request. Felipe, publicly humiliated and unmasked by his own arrogance, has been abandoned by his parents, who saw him as a stain on their impeccable reputation. Now alone and helpless, he was a reflection of the pain he had once caused. Rebecca, not fully understanding the reason, agreed to meet him. What seemed to be the final victory over the aggressor was about to become a chapter in an unexpected inheritance. Chapter 8. The Bridge of the Past and the Forgotten Legacy. The encounter between Rebecca and Felipe is a mirror. In the discreet cafe, away from the curious eyes of the media, he was broken, pale, his face marked by humiliation and abandonment. He was no longer the arrogant bully, but a lost young man. Rebecca, with the serenity she had learned from Sensei Kenji, listened to him. Felipe confessed the bullying, the envy, the racism that blinded him, spoke of his own family's pressure, the pursuit of unattainable perfection that led him to vent his frustrations on others. He asked for forgiveness, not with arrogance, but with the sincerity of despair. Rebecca, in an act of profound humanity, did not immediately forgive him, but offered him a chance. She reminded him that honor is not bought, but earned, and that true strength lies in starting over and acknowledging mistakes and building something new. It was then that Felipe, with a choked voice, revealed the true reason for his search. He had found old letters from his great-grandfather, Antonio Dantas, which revealed a family secret. Antonio had been one of the founders of Dantas Tech, a technology company that, in its early days, had profited from unethical practices, stealing patents and ideas from black and poor inventors to build its fortune, connecting to the equation of life script, where Dantas Tech is involved in crimes. Felipe's guilt was not only for his actions, but for a legacy of injustice that he had inadvertently inherited. The story deepened. Felipe, now an outcast, to his own family, offered Rebecca the letters, proof of his lineage's crimes. He wanted her, with her honor and strength, to use the truth to expose the elite's hypocrisy and to atone for past wrongs. Rebecca felt the weight of that legacy, an invisible inheritance of pain and injustice that she was now invited to unearth. Sister Cecilia, if the connection with previous scripts is active, who had accompanied Ricardo Dantes' Otavio's father, from the equation of life journey, watched from a distance, knowing that truth is the greatest weapon. Chapter 7. The Invisible Network and the Cry for Justice with Antonio Dantas' letters in hand. Rebecca and her mentor, Sensei Kenji, along with the lawyer from the Alzira Montero Foundation Paths. Two, Dignity connecting the scripts, began a silent investigation. Rebecca's intelligence and Ricardo Lacerda's, the CEO who promoted her, experience in uncovering corporate plots combined to expose the network of corruption and racism that had allowed Dantas Tech to build its fortune on the ruins of others. They discovered that Antonio Dantas' crimes were not isolated, but part of a system designed to silence black and poor talents, a way to maintain the elite's power. The press, which once celebrated her, now feared. The story Rebecca was about to reveal threatened to shake the foundations of many fortunes and reputations in the city. Ricardo Lacerda, now a champion of inclusion, offered his unconditional support, aware that exposing Dantas Tech would be a direct confrontation with his own past and the system that had shaped him. He knew that Rebecca's battle was not just for herself, but for all the invisible ones whose dreams had been stolen. The final revelation of the puzzle came from Jonas, the wise homeless man, if the connection is active. Jonas, who had been one of the talents stolen by Antonio Dantas in his youth, and who had abandoned academia to live on the streets after being silenced. He had witnessed the crime and held secrets that could destroy the Dantas family's reputation. Jonas, with his wisdom, handed Rebecca an old diary, his own, detailing the crimes, the stolen patents, and the names of those involved. The truth was undeniable. Chapter 10. The Sacrifice of Truth and the Voice No One Will Silence, with Jonas's diary in hand. Rebecca had definitive proof. She and Ricardo Lacerda called a press conference, not to talk about bullying at school, but to expose a scandal that would shake the country. Rebecca, with a firm voice and eyes shining with unwavering courage, revealed Dantas' Tech's crimes, the stolen patents from black and poor inventors, the conspiracy to silence talent, and the involvement of her great-grandfather, if the connection with Otavio is maintained, and other elite members. The story of Antonio Dantas, the family patriarch, was unmasked, and the Dantas name, once synonymous with success, would now be associated with corruption and racism. The press conference was an earthquake. Millions of people watched Rebecca, the 17-year-old girl, unmasking an empire. Dantas Tech collapsed under the weight of the accusations and public condemnation. Shares plummeted, and those responsible for the crimes faced justice. Ricardo Lacerda, alongside Rebecca, confessed his own past mistakes, his prejudice, and reiterated his commitment to social justice, announcing that his company would be a pillar in rebuilding what Dantas Tech had destroyed. The entire country was in shock. Rebecca's story went viral again, but this time it wasn't about a scandal, but about the triumph of truth and the strength of a girl who, by exposing the elite's mud, offered the clean hands of justice. Rebecca's life, once marked by invisibility, was now a beacon of hope. At the final question that echoed, "You had everything but no honor." The right girl, Rebecca dos Santos, had fought not for revenge but for honor. Rebecca's truth has shaken the world. Dantas Tech has collapsed. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this inspiring saga of justice, empowerment, and a legacy that transforms lives. Hit like if you're also shocked by Rebecca's courage in the fall of the Dantas Empire. Share this video so more people can dive into this powerful story and reflect on the true value of honor and truth. Comment below. What do you think of Rebecca's revelation? Will she be able to rebuild the lives of Dantas Tech's victims? Chapter 11. The Birth of a New Empire and the Legacy of Reparation, with the Dantas Empire dismantled and the truth exposed. Rebecca dos Santos wasn't content with a personal victory. She used her platform and Ricardo Lacerda's support to build something new, an empire of justice and reparation. The Rebecca dos Santos Foundation. Honor and Legacy was created with the goal of finding and supporting young black and impoverished talents who, like Jonas and David, had their dreams stolen by systems of exploitation and prejudice. The Dantas fortune, once stained by corruption, would now fuel a new era of dignity and opportunity. Ricardo Lacerda, the once arrogant CEO, tirelessly dedicated himself to the foundation, using his expertise to uncover other corporate injustices and to ensure the foundation was a model of transparency and efficiency. He and Rebecca, the man who sought redemption and the woman who found it in the fight, became inseparable partners, living proof that honor can be rebuilt. Ricardo's former company, now Lacerda Tech Social Innovation, became a technological support pillar for the foundation. developing solutions for underserved communities. Rebecca's story and the foundation's rise went viral globally, inspiring social justice movements worldwide. The phrase, "you have everything, but no honor," echoed in protests and debates, transforming Rebecca into an international symbol of resistance and hope. Society, to its surprise, was learning that true value doesn't reside in billions, but in the ability to use power to uplift, not to oppress. Chapter 12. The Voice of the Invisible and the Reunion with Forgiveness. Rebecca dos Santos Foundation. Honor and Legacy grew exponentially, expanding its operations across Brazil and beyond its borders. Rebecca, with her intelligence and newfound voice, became a global leader, speaking at international forums, inspiring youth, and challenging governments and corporations to rethink their practices. She spoke about the importance of racial equity, inclusion, and recognizing talent everywhere, regardless of skin color or social class. In the process, Rebecca dedicated part of her time to reconnect with the Dantas Empire's victims. She sought out the parents of Lara, the young woman whose startup project was stolen, and Mariana's family, the woman who suffered abandonment. Rebecca, with humility, offered not just financial support from the foundation, but her listening ear and her empathy. She witnessed pain, anger, but also the surprising capacity for forgiveness. David's family, the young engineer whose project was destroyed, Mariana herself, became partners with the foundation. Using their experiences to guide others, the most touching reunion was with Philippe, her former aggressor. He, having been abandoned by his own family, was now working in a community garden, seeking his own redemption. Rebecca visited him. There were no words of accusation, just a look of understanding. Felipe, tears in his eyes, thanked Rebecca for being the mirror. That made him see his mistakes. The foundation offered him an opportunity to rebuild himself, to use his skills for good. Forgiveness, Rebecca realized, wasn't about forgetting, but transforming pain into a new path. A legacy of compassion that conquered hatred. Chapter 13. The Tribunal of the Soul and the Final Reckoning, Rebecca's story, and the downfall of the Dantas. His family brought forth the need for a final reckoning with the past. Ricardo Lacerda, the CEO who had redeemed himself, supported Rebecca in an unprecedented initiative, the creation of a Tribunal of Honor, a public and transparent forum led by the Rebecca dos Santos Foundation, Honor and Legacy. Its goal was to give a voice to all victims of corporate and racial injustices who, for years, had been silenced. It wasn't a legal court, but a moral one where stories were heard, truth was celebrated. In this symbolic tribunal, Jonas, the wise homeless man whose talent was stolen by Dantas Tech, who was now a foundation advisor, finally told his complete story to the world. He revealed the details of the crime, the manipulation, the pain of being silenced, and the freedom he found on the streets. Beside him, Lionel, the boy who collected cardboard and was now a young community leader, testified to the resilience of the invisible ones and the strength of the new era of justice. The stories, however painful, were a balm, a cry of liberation. Rebecca's mother, Donna Lucia, and Sensei Kenji, who had witnessed Rebecca's journey, watched with pride. Rebecca's family, once marked by loss, was now a symbol of strength and redemption. The Tribunal of the Soul, where the power of money had no voice, revealed that honor, compassion, and truth were the greatest currencies. Rebecca, the young woman who was once a target, was now the judge of dignity, and her voice, a beacon of justice for millions. Chapter 14. The Legacy Beyond Fortune and the Eternal Question. Years passed. Rebecca dos Santos, now a mature woman with wisdom in her eyes, continued to lead the Rebecca dos Santos Foundation, Honor and Legacy. Her story, from a life of struggles to global leadership, inspired generations. Ricardo Lacerda, now elderly, but with his soul at peace, remained by her side, her mentor and most loyal friend. An example that redemption is possible for all. The foundation became a global movement, transforming lives and inspiring social justice. Orphanages, support centers, educational programs, everything flourished. giving voice to the invisible ones and ensuring no talent was silenced again. Joe, the boy artist, Clara's student, became a renowned artist who used his art to denounce injustices, and David, the engineer, led social technology projects that benefited entire communities. The story ends with Rebecca, now elderly, sitting on a park bench in the elite college courtyard, now a center for inclusion and diversity. She watches children of all backgrounds playing freely, laughing, learning. She smiles, her gaze distant but filled with a deep peace. The question that once echoed in her soul still hangs in the air, a reflection for all of us. How many Claras? How many Jonases? How many Lionels? How many Rebeccas does the world still ignore? Her story is not an end, but a beginning, an invitation for each of us to look beyond appearances and seek the true wealth that exists in every human being. Chapter 15. The Infinite Echo of Honor and the Dawn of a New Era. Rebecca dos Santos' life didn't end in the school courtyard. Her legacy became eternal. The Rebecca dos Santos Foundation, Honor and Legacy, grew exponentially, transforming into a global organization with impact on every continent. Rebecca's vision of a world where talent flourishes regardless of circumstances took root in countless lives. Joe, the artist, and Lionel, the community leader, joined other talents revealed by the foundation, creating a global network of artists, activists, and innovators who used art, technology, and voice to denounce injustices and promote inclusion. Ricardo Lacerda, even after his passing, left a legacy of humility and service, and the foundation kept alive the memory of his transformation, a testament that redemption is possible for all. His story, alongside Rebecca's, became a case study in business schools and in seminars on ethics and leadership, inspiring a new generation of leaders who value human beings above profit. The final scene of the script is a sunrise over a large city. It is not the same cold and indifferent city from the beginning. Now, instead of luxury cars throwing mud, one sees the construction of new community centers, the revitalization of forgotten neighborhoods, and young people of all ethnicities walking side by side to school. The sun rises, illuminating faces, and a voiceover echoes. Perhaps the voice of an older Rebecca or one of her grandchildren. The world is an equation we are learning to solve. No longer with fear, but with honor.
Ow.
No longer with contempt, but with dignity. No longer in silence, but with everyone's voice. Rebecca's phrase, "You have everything but no honor," is no longer an accusation, but a song of hope. A constant reminder that dignity and talent reside on every corner, waiting only for a glance, a chance, a voice to recognize them. Rebecca's story is an infinite legacy, a testament to the transformative power of a simple act of courage and the honor that illuminates the world. We've reached the end of this emotional journey of justice and empowerment. If Rebecca's story has moved you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our inspiring stories of triumph and the power of honor. Hit the like button if you believe that talent doesn't choose race or social status, and that justice always prevails. Share this video to spread this powerful message of inclusion, diversity, and the fight for a more just world. Comment below. What's the biggest lesson Rebecca's story brought to your life? Do you believe the world is learning? To see the Rebeccas around it,